everyone, today I am back with my labour and birth story. It's going to be a really long video, so I'm just going to put it out there that I advise you to go and get yourself a cup of tea and some chocolate because I don't want to miss anything out. Because I want to look back at this if and when I have a second and be like, oh yeah, like I remember that. So where to start? My due date was the 9th of November 2015, and that day just came and nothing happened and it went. I remember sitting on one of those like yoga balls, bouncing up and down for a couple of hours, walking on the treadmill, drinking raspberry leaf tea, which I swear by. I feel like that helped soften things. Raspberry leaf tea basically softens your cervix and you can have it from 36 weeks. Tastes like drinking soil, but I rely on that. I swear that is why my labour was the way it was due to that tea. So I drank a lot of that on my due date, did a lot of walking. I marathoned The Bachelor because I am and was obsessed with that. So I watched like a whole series in a couple of days. And yeah, like nothing happened. I had no pain or anything. The 10th came, same situation, came and went, nothing happened. On the 10th I went to bed like normal. I went on to Netmums because I was in a mood. Because my midwife hadn't offered me a sweep. I was due an appointment the day after, on the Wednesday the 11th, and it had annoyed me that she hadn't even mentioned a sweep in my previous like midwife appointment. So I was like, are they going to do a sweep tomorrow? What's the plan? Like, do I have to wait even longer to have a sweep? Like, what happens? So I was getting really agitated on Netmums, reading loads of posts, asking loads of questions, and then I just gave up and went to sleep. I really want to quickly point out that if you hear any weird like smacking noises or someone eating like that, they are currently eating. Pia's on the floor in her bumbo, sucking on some food. So I apologise if that really gets on your nerves, but it's lunchtime. I chose the worst time to film. Anyway, I woke up on the morning of the 11th, about 6 AM, which is very early for me when I was on maternity leave before I had her, because I didn't do anything. Like, I'd get up at 10 and I'd spend all day in my pyjamas. So getting up at 6 wasn't normal. And I just had this really weird pain, and it felt like a period pain, and I hadn't had that for 9 months. So as soon as you get it, you're like, oh my god, like this is it. So I didn't say anything to Neil. I just laid in bed and it happened again. So I was like, right. So I got my phone out, and on my app there was a section with like when you start contractions and you can time them. So every time I got the pain, I pressed the button, and then when it stopped, I like obviously pressed stop. God, I'm like so with it today. And they were like, they kept coming every like, I don't know, 4 minutes, and they were lasting maybe about 30 seconds. So I was like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking out for. So I woke Neil up and I was like, I'm in pain. He was like, oh, I'm sure it's like nothing, just see how you go. So he started getting ready for work, and I decided before he went to work, because I was in pain, like it wasn't like ridiculous, it was just like really bad period pain. But that seemed like a lot because you didn't have it for 9 months. So I called the delivery suite. Is that nice? Are you chomping on a breadstick? I called the delivery suite just in case, because I wanted like professionals' advice, and I just said to them, this is very TMI, I was sat on the toilet whilst I made the phone call. And I was like, this is a situation, I've started having pains, this is the timings. And I looked in the toilet and I was like, and I've also just seen blood. And she was like, how much blood? And she was like, teaspoon or so. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't know, it just looks like blood. And she was like, right, okay, have a bath, take some paracetamol, eat some food, like keep your energies up because it could last like 2 days. And I was like, epic. So I said, what about my partner? She was like, does he work far? And I was like, no, he's going to be working maybe like half an hour away. So she was like, send him to work. If you get in too much discomfort, call him home. I said to Neil, you go to work, I'll do whatever I've got to do, I'll call you if I need you. And I made up my own little routine, which just, I don't know, it just worked for me. So I originally got in the bath with my iPad, I was watching a Lily Pebbles vlog, and I was shaving my legs, so you can tell that I wasn't in that much discomfort. If I can watch a video and I can shave my legs, like, I was okay, like, I could cope. And then it kicked up a gear. And so, like, I had a little circuit. So I'd sit in the bath, then I'd go and sit on the toilet, and then I'd go lie in my bed. When I was in my bed, like, I'd like squeeze my legs together, and then I'd rock my knees backwards and forwards like this. So I was like on my back, like swaying from side to side, like wriggling my hips. I don't know why I did that, but it just eased the pain, I guess. And then I got too hot from lying on the bed. Bear in mind I was butt naked during this whole time. So I got too hot, then I'd go sit in the bath, and then when I sat in the bath, I would sit forward and I'd put my right hand behind me, and then I'd take all the pressure off of like my bum and like my bump and everything to my arm. And I don't know why I did that, but again, it helped me. I'm actually really glad that Neil wasn't there for that, because I could just get on with it and I didn't have anyone to pester me or ask me questions or try and help me. Like, I could just do it on my own, and that's what I'm really glad that I had that time. I was able to make the noises that I wanted to make. I was able to feel sorry for myself. I remember sat on the toilet being like, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. And yeah, like, I just got on with it. I texted Neil sort of, I think it was about 9:30, and I just said to him, like, this hurts. I'm in quite a bit of pain. So he told me to call the delivery suite again. I called the midwives and I just wanted a little bit of guidance, really. I don't really remember why I called, but I just said to them that my pain, sorry, I'm playing with a wet wipe. I said to them that my pain has sort of like upped a little bit. They asked me about my contractions. They were lasting maybe about 40 to 45 seconds, and they were coming frequently. They were coming like every 3 to 4 minutes. She said that I could go in, but the midwife-led unit was full, which is where I wanted to go. At my hospital, you have a delivery suite and you have a midwife-led unit. And in the midwife unit, you have birthing pools, and that's what I really wanted. So they said that they were full, but I could come in, but I'd have to go into the delivery suite. If not, stay at home, wait an hour, and then give them a call back. So I was like, I may as well wait at home. She told me that she wants my contractions to last over a minute, and then give him a call once that happens. So I stayed at home, but I ended up trying to get hold of Neil because I just wanted him to come home, because I knew that things were moving quite fast because I was in pain. I tried to get hold of him maybe 5 or 6 times, and he was working in a basement. So you can imagine my panic when I was like, oh my god, I'm going to have to do this on my own, I can't get hold of him, can't tell him anything. Luckily, he managed to get signal. I think he came up from where he was working, and he saw all the missed calls and stuff. And he was like, but your waters haven't gone. And it's just like, no, they haven't gone, but I'm in a lot of pain and I'd like you to come home, because I was aware that he had to travel to get home as well. So he was like, okay, fine, I'll call work, I'll come back. In that sort of 30 to 40 minutes, I was still doing my routine. It got a lot worse. I was in pain. The midwife, that was it. The midwife also said that she wants my pain to be where I can't talk through it, and I have to stop and like breathe myself through the contractions and then carry on again. I hadn't had that, and then I suddenly started doing that, so I was like, right, like this is happening now. Neil came home about 10:30, and I was in the bath, and I just remember he came in, sat on the toilet with the toilet seat down, eating a packet of mini cheddars. I had Rue next to me on the floor, obviously I was in the bath, and he was just sat there and he was like, do you want a mini cheddar? And I was just like, no, I don't fucking want a mini cheddar. Like, I'm in labour and I'm in pain, I'm a hot mess, like, I don't want a mini cheddar. So he was like, right, I'm going to pack up the car. So I let him do that. I was still going through what I was going through. I got out of the bath, and Neil had to towel dry me twice, because I think because of the adrenaline and how fast it had happened. Like, I was sweating so much. Like, by the time I was dry, Neil had to then towel me down again. He had to get me dressed because I couldn't do that. Once I was dressed, I went and lied on the bed again. Then we had a huge scenario with Neil coming in, and I was just like, oh my god, and he thought I was in a lot of pain or I was pushing or something, and he ended up having a wasp on his back. and I have got the biggest phobia of wasps. So there I was having contractions on the bed, sweating my arse off. Neil was running around the bedroom like trying to get this wasp off him and then kill it because I was scared it was going to come and get me. Like you couldn't make it up. And then I decided that I needed to go to the toilet, and I went, because right, it's going to be grim, I don't care, it's a labour story. I thought I needed to poo, and I sat on the toilet and I was just like, no, like this is not poo, this is baby. So I just said to Neil, like, you need to get me to hospital now. So I called the midwives and I was like, look, this is a situation, they're lasting over a minute, I'm in a lot of pain, can I come in? And they were like, yeah, that's fine, room's free, like the midwife unit is fine, you can come in. I knew that it was progressing fast because of how different my contractions were. It went from period pain in the morning to then feeling like someone was grabbing my bump and pulling it out, like pulling it away from me and then releasing it. That's how I can describe a contraction. And then when I went to the toilet, because I thought I needed shit, it went from going in my stomach to all in my bum. So that was obviously the pressure of the baby, like, come on, like, I'm ready to come. So we left the house at, I don't know, I think it was maybe about 11:30. I was really concerned about how Neil was going to drive because I thought he was going to drive like he was a Formula 1 racer. But to be fair, he did really well. He was stayed really calm, and we were lucky that we didn't really get stuck in any traffic. It was hard for me going over bumps, not being able to do what I was doing at home. Like I had my whole house, so I could do what I wanted. I could move, I could sit in the bath, I could sit on the toilet, I could do what I wanted. But being restrained in a car seat with a seatbelt on and not being able to do that, like, it was just really difficult. I remember holding on to like the handle above the door and like holding the seat, and every time I got a contraction I was just like, oh. I must have looked like a psycho because obviously people around you have got no clue what's going on. We then got to the hospital, and my God, was it a walk. Neil asked me if I wanted a wheelchair and I said no because I genuinely thought I was only 2 or 3 centimetres and it was going to get a million times worse. And I was like, I'm not going to be one of them ones that just goes up in a wheelchair and then they get sent home. Like, I'm not doing it. So, like, say the hospital's here, we parked like over here and I had to walk all the way up and then all the way up to the ward. I had 2 contractions whilst walking to the hospital and I'd just go and hide like on a brick wall. And then when we got into the hospital, there was a lift that you had to take to get you up to the floor. And in the lift there was an elderly couple and some NHS staff, and they were like holding the doors open for more people to come in, and Neil was just like, come on, like we've got to go, like she is in labour, like we need to get her up to the ward now. So I was just stood there like having a contraction. I must have looked like an absolute lunatic. Then when we got to the midwife unit, we got let in and then we went to like a little triage assessment room just so they'd know like how far you're gone, blah blah. When I got there, they also said what was my preference on birth, and I said I'd like a water birth. So my main midwife went and ran the birthing pool, and I had a student midwife. It was her first ever day, and she was lovely. Her name was Bethany, I think. She was lovely, and I felt really silly because I went in there and I just said to her, I was like, when you have a baby, does it feel like you need to shit? And she was just like, yeah, like that is the pressure of the baby. She was like, you might want to go and try and clear. Okay, so, hi from future me. I am currently editing this video that you're now watching, and I'm annoyed because the pivotal point hasn't been recorded. Basically, my memory card ran out of space and turned my camera off, and I missed about a minute, so I'm just going to fill you in. So the student midwife told me to go and try and clear my bowels, and I was sat on the toilet. God, I'm so annoyed this has happened. I was sat on the toilet and I was like, this isn't shit. Like I'm pushing out a baby. Like I know my body. Like it's coming. So they were like, right, get off the toilet. So I had to waddle. And as I was waddling to the bed, literally as I got onto the bed, my waters broke. So there I was, sat on new sheets that were now covered in like my juice, which is brilliant, just what you want. They whipped my leggings off. For some reason I pulled them back up, I don't know why. They took my knickers off and then they did the examination just to see sort of like how far along I was. And lo and behold, I was fully dilated, 10 centimetres, and I was ready to push. Neil he teared up because he was so proud as to how well I dealt with the pain. Because like I keep saying in the video, like I genuinely thought I was only 2 to 3, maybe even 4 centimetres. And I also don't think I say in the video, I had nothing with me. All of my belongings were in the car because I didn't think that I was that far along and I thought they'd send me home. So that's what I said, but it didn't get recorded. I'm really upset that that video is basically now ruined. But there's nothing I can do. So bye from me, future self, and I'll let you carry on with the original video. Also told me that I couldn't have a water birth because it takes an hour to fill up the birthing pool, which is another thing I had no idea about. I could have said it on the phone and I didn't, and I feel like that would have eased my back pain because I had a lot of back pain whilst I was pushing. I couldn't get comfortable because it was all too much for my back. I had issues during my pregnancy with my back anyway. I feel like it's because of the size of my boobs. And then having the weight of my baby, like I was all very like it was all on my front, so I really struggled with that. So I could only do it with gas and air. So I just remember just lying there, just doing everything that the midwife said. I didn't push when they told me not. Like I just did everything that they said because I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to harm my baby, and yeah, like pushing was hard. But I could do it again, and I remember Neil stroking my hair, like I had my hair up in like a bun, and he was like stroking my head like this, and it was really getting on my nerves because like I know he was trying to like support me and stuff, but he was just touching the same bit of hair, and I was just like, oh. And yeah, Neil got quite emotional when he found out that I was fully dilated because he was proud as to how well I did and how well I coped with it. And my midwife explained it to me like a toilet U-bend. So you have like the U bit where your baby is rocking backwards and forwards, and then when it hits the point where of no return, then every push your baby's closer to coming out. So I remember she then said, right, this bit's going to hurt, and I was like, is this going to be the ring of fire that everyone talks about? And she was like, yes. So she was obviously starting to crown, and that wasn't very nice. Like, it was okay. I say it was okay, it wasn't okay, it's childbirth, it's not okay, but I'm saying I could do it again, so it wasn't that bad for me. But she was a small baby. So I remember her crowning, and then, like, you just have to wait for a contraction, and that was the worst part for me. What's the matter? There you go. That was the worst part for me, was waiting for contractions when I could just push her out, but obviously that would hurt me and damage me. And I remember at one point I was like, can you not just pull her out? Like, I got the head out, and I was like, can you not just pull her out? Like, it's done. And they were like, no. And then I remember asking, has she got hair? Because that was one thing I was really concerned about, was whether she had hair. And they were like, yes, she's got hair, blah, blah. And then they were like, right, one more push and she's out. They had to push the emergency button to get like an assistant midwife just to come in to make sure everything was okay. I remember them saying, you know what this means? Not to me, they were obviously saying it to each other. And I was very confused about that. But then after birth, Neil told me that P's cord was wrapped around her neck. So they obviously knew that whilst I was in labour, and they kept it from me, which I'm glad. But yeah, so that was something else that happened. Pressed the button, the other midwife came in, they told me to push, and then out she came. She was born on the 11th of November 2015 at 2:16 p.m. And yeah, she was £6'8", so she was a really small diddy baby, but she's bigger than what I thought. I thought she was going to be 6'3". And yeah, they put her straight on my chest and she was crying, and then they put the injection in my leg for delivering the placenta. And it was just like such a surreal moment. I could not get around how fast it happened. Like, for your first baby to only be 2 days over your due date, and then to basically have like active labour for 4 hours is just insane. So then we were sort of left to it. We had tea and toast. Everyone says that tea and toast is the best, and it genuinely is. Like, I don't know where they get their bread, but I want that bread. Like, it was just so good. So we had that. I ended up leaving hospital at about 7:30 in the evening, so I was only in hospital for 6 hours, which again is just super fast. And yeah, like, you just leave the hospital and you're like, oh my god, like, what do I do? We went to KFC, and I remember sat in the car on my own because Neil ran in to go and get it. And I was just like next to this thing, and I was like, you were in me for 9 months and now you're here, and I'm now sat in a car waiting for my KFC, like you can't even justify it. And then when we got home, we came in, she was in her car seat, we just left her in a car seat and watched The Apprentice and ate our KFC, and we were like, what do we do now? Yeah, like, you leave the house as 2 and you come in as 3, and your life has changed forever. And it's just like your head doesn't get like round it for, it didn't get round, well, my head didn't get round it for like a couple of weeks, like this thing's mine. And like, you have all the midwife's appointments, and then you just gradually, like, you learn to become a mum. And it was like, I would do it again, and that's all I can say is, I thought it would be absolutely horrific. It is nothing like One Born Every Minute, which is what I thought, well, my experience wasn't anyway. I couldn't have asked for a better labour. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it at all. And I'm one of the lucky few that had it the way that I did. Afterbirth was painful for me. I didn't tear, I didn't like have a rip, I didn't need any stitches or anything. I had a slight graze. And that's why it was painful for me. When you wee and you've got an open wound, it's like acid. And I didn't wee for maybe 3 days because I knew how painful it was. I literally cried every time I went to the toilet. It was awful. Didn't poo for about a week. It actually got so painful for me that I struggled to walk, I struggled to sit down, obviously I struggled to wee, having a bath was painful, so I ended up having to go to the doctors 2 weeks later, and they put me on antibiotics just to clear up whatever was wrong. There was no infection or anything, I was just really sore, which again is not fun because you've just had a baby, you look like crap, and like, I just had to go to the doctors, I see a GP and be like, oh, I've got pain, and they're like, oh, where? And I have to get my nun out, show my nun, point where it is, and it's just like, oh, I don't need this, like, just help me without having to see my area. So, that is my labour and delivery story. I really hope you enjoyed it. I feel like I've rambled for a long time, but I don't feel like I've said a lot, if that makes sense. It was really nice to, like, remember. I say that I wish I filmed it, and I do. It wouldn't be to show anyone. It would just be for myself, so I can see how I dealt with it, and how I dealt with the pain, and just to look back, because now it's all memories. I've got no photos of actual birth, and I wish I did. So if you are pregnant or you're like planning to have a baby, I would recommend filming it, or just getting your partner to take photos. Don't let him tell you that, oh, the camera's out and now I'm going to start snapping away at you being in pain. Just let him get on with it, because I wish I did, and I know for a fact that if and when I have a second, I will film it, or I'll get a photographer or something, because it's such a, hang on baby girl, I'll be with you in a minute, it's such a momentous time in your life, and it's just a memory now. And I wish I had footage. So, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will, and I am planning on doing newborn essentials for like upcoming mums or new mums, or just if you're just interested like I was before I even thought about having a baby. So that will be coming up soon, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!